Yeah, 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 yeah. 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 The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness for every man and woman. Frank Zappa. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Peace and happiness for every man. Okay. I love that motif so much. I could just let it play in this loop format forever here. I think it would make perfect background music. I know Lamont Young had this Theater of Eternal Music, which just had a one-note drum that went on infinitely. And more about these motifs, these riffs. I think they're just. All right. Theater of Eternal Riffs. Yeah, 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 yeah. I promised to turn on the juice today. Okay, it's been a while. It's too bad I don't have this on stereo yet, but I love flying saucers. I love science fiction, old school science fiction, that is. And actually, so when I was at Yale, many, many years ago, I was a teaching assistant on a course called The History and Nature of Science Fiction, and the professor was Derek DeSola Price, who was a distinguished professor of history of science, but he was a science fiction buff. And I could roll off some reverb, okay. The part of the curriculum was Olaf Stapleton. I don't know if you'd ever read Last and First Men, really good one. A Canticle for Leibowitz. I was in a discussion with a writer about this particular book pretty recently. I think that Ridley Walker by Russell Hoban is definitely influenced by Canticle for Leibowitz. Earth Abides, another good one. Let's see, what else? War with the Newts by Karel Čapek, great Czech science fiction writer who also kind of invented the term robot with RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots. All good stuff. I haven't read anything really so new these days, although I know that Peter Stampfel is a big buff, and that's good. His wife Betsy works for Betsy Wollheim, really runs a great imprint that used to be very prominent in the science fiction field, and I'm thinking, why am I blanking out right now? Oh, it's on the tip. Oh, Daw Books. Daw. Donald A. Wollheim Books. Her dad was Donald Wollheim. And anyway, the last good one that I read on Peter's recommendation was a long time ago called, oh gosh, I think it was called Queen of the Morning, King of the Day. It was good. So if anybody out there wants to tip me or hit me to anything that's in this new idiom currently, I would be ever so grateful. I think that William Gibson, in the way he foresaw the internet and the rise of virtual reality and, let's say, the present state that we're living in right now in books such as Mona Lisa Overdrive, that was a good one. I think he was right on the money. But now who would have foreseen such a world as we're living in right now? I don't know, it just came from watching some of the wrap-up. For one brief, exciting moment, I thought they were going to start allowing testimony to be read into the record with actual witnesses, which would have made this more like Watergate, which would have been fun, plus it would have prolonged this spectacle in front of the world and enabled re-showing of clips, which are so powerful. Not the Republican clips. Their montages yesterday were embarrassing, I thought. Plus, the tackiest music one could have imagined to accompany them. They just looked like bad campaign propaganda that they reharvested for use yesterday to put on the record. But in any case, it'll be over soon, and I'm so sorry it's a foregone conclusion that Trump will not be convicted. But I argue this with a lot of friends. God forbid that he ever does run again and loses, as it was pointed out by one of the impeachment managers. But I think Raskin is definitely a hero, and we need more guys and gals. The whole team was very impressive. Plaskett, especially from the Virgin Islands, was so eloquent. All of them, really. So it goes. So we'll see what happens next. I don't know, but I still would love to get a vaccine. I was told that there was a Twitter site called Novovax, which gives you updates whenever they become available, vaccines in the area. But every time I've raced to complete the form, which you have to do every time they list something, you have to follow a procedure, which is a bit time-consuming and laborious. It either goes and says, okay, you've got a appointment, but now you have to further register. And at the end of the further registration, either the thing shorts out and you lose a connection, or for some reason it gets stymied, and then redoing it always, it's like, oh, the connection was lost, try again. But the majority of times I've tried on any site, it's always like, there are no more appointments available. So I'm not about to go up to, and there are appointments available in Potsdam, New York, but not having a car, and not really so inclined to go up there. In any case, yeah, I can't get the vaccine right now. I know people in New Jersey have a lot better luck, but it is a much less densely population area than New York City, is it not? So, I don't know, Karen and I are both suffering with, what's wrong with us? We're so unlucky people as to not be able to get this vaccine. But I'm sure the situation will turn sooner than later, and if not, oh, c'est la vie. There doesn't seem to be too much going on in the way of live gigs right now, anywhere in the world, particularly in Europe, which has been my primary stomping ground for years and years and years, ever since going over there with Don Van Vliet for the first time 40 years ago. And that's a neat segue, okay, into my 40-year retrospective album. Now, there's nothing per se from Europe 40 years ago, well, that would have been 81. There is a track from 1980, okay, 41 years ago. It's a 41-year retrospective, okay, got that. Technically, and that is a show I did with Don, or an appearance I made with Don Van Vliet and the Magic Band, playing solo Flavor Bud Living live at the Beacon Theater, which is one of the most beautiful theaters in Manhattan. And it was a great night. What do I recall about it specifically? Well, I know David Byrne was in the audience and told me later how much he liked it. I'm sure there were I know Tim Byrne, who I later produced for Columbia Records, an album called Fulton Street Mall with Bill Frisell, which turned me on to Frisell for the first time, and Hank Roberts. He was there, although he came up to me at the end of the night, I think as we were packing up, and he said, yeah, really enjoyed it, but I could tell you I could never play music like that. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because you guys weren't improvising, were you? And true enough, no. The only one who was ever allowed to improvise on the charts as they were was Don, with either his voice or his saxophone or his harmonica. We all had to learn very codified music rigidly and play it the same way twice, if not 3 times, and on and on. We had to never deviate from the form. And in that sense, it was like modern classical music, because often, you might see a crack ensemble, but they do not allow improvisation, let's say. And, I get it, though I love to improvise, but I never felt restricted by this, ever, never once. I just found the music such joy and joyful and ecstatic to play that the limitations of not being able to improvise never inhibited me from enjoying doing it. I felt really proud of being part of this ensemble when I played with them. And but that also brings me to another thing, which is the death in the last few days of some significant figures in the history of jazz. Chick Corea's passing really actually hit me hard, as I thought he had one of the best touches on keyboards since I first became aware of him in the late 60s, and he was such a great melodicist and a writer, going back to the first Return to Forever album with Flora Purim, great Brazilian vocalist, and her husband Ayrton Moreira on drums and percussion, as well as Stanley Clarke, a young Stanley Clarke, really before he became a huge figure in what was then rock jazz fusion under his own name. And Joe Farrell, fantastic flautist and all-around saxophonist. What a great band. What can I say? I never did see them in that lineup live, but that first Return to Forever album particularly was a favorite. And you probably all know songs on it, such as Light as a Feather and Spain. These are standards in the jazz literature. And he went on, and before that, the first album that I really became aware of him on was this Miles Davis album, Feed to Kilimanjaro, which I've spoken of many times, I think, on these podcast live streams I've been doing. That had a profound impact on me. It was right on the cusp of Miles going into electric fusion. It was the album before In a Silent Way, which had John McLaughlin and then on into his jazz rock explorations. But Feed to Kilimanjaro, which had uncredited arrangements by Gil Evans, Miles was never very generous with the credits on the album, but all this information came out years later. It features a triple, I mean, it's just a great lineup. It was pretty much the classic quintet with Tony Williams, who to this day is unequaled, I mean, as far as his approach on drums, in my humble opinion. He was just so incredible, and as well as Dave Holland is on this album, playing electric bass and acoustic bass. And of course, Wayne Shorter, what a magnificent touch on saxophone. But to me, the jewels on the record were the keyboard attack of both Keith Jarrett, who has tragically been sidelined by this terrible disease for a few years now, I've been told, and Chick Corea's playing. And you can hear Chick really work out on the final track, which is called Mademoiselle Mabry, which is named after Miles's girlfriend at the time, Betty Mabry, who apparently introduced Miles to Jimi Hendrix. Excuse me. And according to the last biography of Jimmy I read, he and Miles, there exist tapes of them jamming in the studio, but they've never seen the light of day. I wonder if this is really so. But the riff itself is a bit like Miles's version of Foxy Lady, kind of slowed down and in a Latin jazz style. Check it out, because the keyboard work is all by Chick Corea there. Electric Rhodes piano, it's just fantastic. So, all right, we've almost run out of time. They're going to run me out of town if I don't hurry up. No, we've almost run out of time. What did I want to tell you about? I just got this book on an impulse because I was going through a Joseph Losey retrospective. I guess I would say Losey is my favorite film director, a blacklisted, originally a New York theater director who did some great work in Hollywood and then was blacklisted under Joe McCarthy. Moved to England where he flourished, who made one fantastic film after another. Now, this is not his best film, but it's Modesty Blaise. And his version is very much a pop art, kind of in the tradition of Jane Fonda, Roger Vadim, Barbarella. It's got that pop art energy and kind of a science fiction, futuristic flair, certainly with the mise en scène. But Peter O'Donnell, the British writer, has a whole series of books about Modesty Blaise, who's kind of a female James Bond character and gets into all sorts of scrapes. And they're quite good. They're very good. A bit on the pulp literature side, but I recommend them. So that's the first one. And if you do get a chance to see the film Losey made, it's worth, I think, a gander. It stars Monica Vitti, who was quite a big star in Italy around the time. Antonioni used her for L'Eclise and La Nota. All of his great early 60s films, really. Red Desert, Monica Vitti. Very iconic Italian film actress. So, all right, I'm going to play. I don't want to let you think you didn't get your money's worth, although this is for free. So if you have any conscience at all or shekels in your bank account, hand it over at the virtual tip jar, okay? Be much appreciated. Enough said. And the second major figure in jazz who just passed away, I just learned right before the live stream, is Milford Graves, fantastic free jazz drummer. What a bummer. Anyway, they're dropping like flies. I'm still here, though. I feel better than ever. And I can't wait to play for you live. All right, then. See you on the flip-flop. Love you guys. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning, and I will see you on Tuesday at 3 p.m., as always, Eastern Standard Time. Okay.